I just want to say that without the media, you won't know what's going on in the world. Even with the media, you sometimes don't know what's going on in the world. So you need to tune in to the reliable sources who are really on the front lines, who can give you the information you need and give you facts, not conjecture, give you real news, not fake news. And this is the place to find it, AAUTV.
The voice of higher education in Africa.
Hello and welcome to the AAU TV Mid-week news, coming to you live from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities here in Accra, Ghana. Let's take a look at our headlines. Africa pushes climate education after COP30. Africa CDC launches health security plan. South Africa secures G20 declaration. US-Ukraine peace plan talks advance. Please stay with us for more news on the AAUTV Mid-week news. We'll be right back after this break. Authorities in Zimbabwe are investigating the abduction and assault of two students activists from Chinhoyi University of Technology on November 10. The pair were reportedly taken by four unidentified men, beaten and forced to drink an unknown substance after being accused of disrupting student elections and criticizing the ruling ZANU-PF party. The incident has sparked calls for accountability from human rights groups as police work to determine who carried out the attack and why it occurred during the tense lead-up to the University Students' Representatives Council elections.
According to victim Lyndon Zanga, he and colleague Marvin Mandada were confronted by four men at the Misbah shopping center around 10 p.m. He said the men chased them, caught them and forced them into a vehicle. Zanga reports they were taken to an unknown location where they were beaten and forced to drink an unidentified substance. The attackers allegedly accused them of delaying the Student Representative Council election and criticizing the ruling ZANU-PF party during their campaign activities. Zanga, who ran for the position of External Affairs, Information and Publicity, was hospitalized for 2 days but was released on November 12, just in time to vote. Despite being weak, he won the election. He later told reporters that while he could be abducted, the students who supported him could not. Zikosu, the rival student union aligned with the ruling party, has issued a strong denial of involvement. Its Secretary General said the organization upholds the rights of all students and described claims linking to their campaign vehicle to the incident as baseless. Human rights organizations, including Amnesty International Zimbabwe, have condemned the assault and are urging authorities to conduct a thorough and transparent investigation to protect students' freedom of expression and safety. Police have confirmed they are probing the abduction. This is not the first time such incident at the institution. Another ZINASU activist reported a similar abduction during the 2023 SRC elections.
Still on higher education, African universities, youth networks and global partners are moving to expand climate education and research after the COP30 summit held from November 10 to 21 in Belém, Brazil. This is to strengthen resilience and equip communities with the skills needed to respond to the climate crisis through new tools, policy guidance, and youth-led initiatives.
One of the major outcomes of the COP30 summit was the launch of the 2025 Global Youth Statement, representing 30,000 young people from over 100 countries. It highlighted education, science, and research as the backbone of climate justice. UNESCO followed by unveiling new tools under its Greening Education Partnership, practical resources designed to help governments, universities, and communities integrate climate learning across all levels. UNESCO's Julia Hayes stressed that positioning schools and universities as sustainability leaders accelerates progress, noting that young people remain the drivers of many on-the-ground climate initiatives. African youth representatives echoed that momentum. They stressed that the real work begins after COP30, with universities such as the University of Ghana and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology already linking academic research with policy and community engagement. Youth networks in Lesotho and other countries are also building programs that move climate learning beyond textbooks, creating workshops, innovation labs, and leadership spaces that empower students to act. With UNESCO's new education tools and a continent-wide push for climate literacy, Africa's universities are positioning themselves as key engines of climate action, preparing the next generation to respond to one of the world's most urgent challenges.
The Africa CDC has launched the Africa Health Security and Sovereignty Agenda in Addis Ababa amid declining external health aid and rising outbreaks across the continent. The plan aims to strengthen Africa's self-resilience through 5 pillars: global health reform, pandemic preparedness, sustainable financing, digital transformation, and local manufacturing. The initiative seeks to rebuild resilience, ensure equity, and reinforce African-led decision-making in health security.
The announcement follows a series of high-level meetings earlier this year, including session led by President Kagame in Addis Ababa, President John Dramani Mahama in Accra, and President Joao Lourenço in New York. Together, African leaders tasked the Africa CDC with charting a stronger unified path forward. At the heart of the agenda are 5 interconnected pillars. The first calls for reforming the global health architecture, ensuring African nations lead with clarity while the world supports. The second strengthens pandemic prevention and response, integrating surveillance, laboratories, and emergency workforce backed by a new African epidemic fund. The third pillar focuses on sustainable health financing, urging domestic resource mobilization and innovation tools such as health levies and blended investments. The fourth advances digital transformation, building a continent-wide intelligence ecosystem and connecting every health facility to reliable broadband. And the fifth re-accelerates local manufacturing with a goal that by 2040, 60% of essential medical supplies will be produced in Africa. Africa CDC Director General Dr. Jean Kaseya stressed that the agenda is non-negotiable, representing a collective commitment to move from dependency to ownership and from vulnerability to resilience. He emphasized that health sovereignty does not mean isolation, but a new model of partnership where Africa defines priorities and global partner support. With disease outbreak rising and external aid shrinking, the AHSS agenda signals a decisive step towards a secure, self-reliant, and resilient Africa.
Stick with us for Discovery News after this break.
Ever wondered what drives ordinary people to do extraordinary things? Every week, a new story unfolds. But these aren't just stories. They are the journeys of courage, resilience, and vision. On Impact Stories, we open the door to remarkable personalities and everyday heroes. Experience the passion behind their purpose. Witness the setbacks, the breakthroughs, and the moment that defines a legacy. Journey with us on AAU TV every Saturday at 4 p.m. as we celebrate those who are making an impact. Tune in to Impact Stories, where real people share real journeys and real impact, each one leaving behind a legacy written in gold. Only on AAU TV.
Meta has completed the 45,000-kilometer To Africa subsea cable, now the world's longest open access network. After nearly 6 years of construction, the system links Europe, the Middle East, and 16 African countries across 46 landing sites. Backed by a global consortium, the project delivers more capacity than all existing cables combined and is expected to add up to $36.9 billion to Africa's GDP within 3 years by expanding connectivity and innovation.
The To Africa subsea cable stretches an extraordinary 45,000 kilometers, linking Europe, the Middle East, and 16 African nations, with 46 landing points worldwide. Backed by a heavyweight consortium, including MTN Global Connect, Vodacom, Orange, and China Mobile International, the system is designed to deliver more capacity than all existing subsea cables, serving Africa combined, up to 180 terabytes per second on key routes. Meter's engineers had to push the limits of subsea technology, deploying new spiral division multiplexing to double fiber capacity, undersea wavelength, switching for flexible bandwidth, and mobilizing 35 offshore vessels for what amounted to 32 years of combined operations. In remote areas, specialized diving and burial equipment was imported just to bring the cable ashore. The economic impact is expected to be transformative. RTI International estimates To Africa could add nearly $37 billion to Africa's GDP within 3 years of going live. Meta says the system will fuel job creation, boost productivity, and give startups the kind of internet infrastructure they've never had at scale. For partners like MTN, the project is more than connectivity. MTN's digital infrastructure chief said the cable is not just connecting Africa to the world, it's connecting the continent to its own potential.
In sports, the Springboks extended their undefeated run on the 2025 Castle Lager outgoing tour with a commanding 24-13 victory over Ireland at the Aviva Stadium. The win, their first in Dublin in 13 years, showcased South Africa's world-leading power in the scrum, backed by disciplined defense and clinical finishing. Ireland struggled with multiple yellow cards and a 20-minute red card as the Springboks control the match from start to finish. South Africa's Springboks have reinforced their position as the world's #1 rugby team, securing a dominant 24-13 win over Ireland in Dublin. Playing at the Aviva Stadium, the Boks delivered their first victory on Irish soil since 2012, controlling the match with a powerful scrum and relentless defensive pressure. Their dominance forced Ireland into repeated infringements, resulting in several yellow cards and a 20-minute red card that shifted the momentum firmly in South Africa's favor. Damian Williams opened the scoring early, finishing a well-timed break by Damian De Allende. Scrum half Kobus Reinach added a second try after sustained pressure from the Bok pack, who overpowered Ireland during multiple scrum resets. A penalty try later in the first half extending South Africa's lead. Ireland showed moments of resistance, cutting the margin through a penalty from Sam Prendergast, but another explosive scrum allowed Sasha Feinberg-Mozulu to race through for South Africa's fourth try. Although Ireland fought to stay in the contest during the final quarter, the Springboks' earlier dominance sealed a well-deserved win. The result continues their unbeaten run on the tour and underlines their status as the most formidable side in world rugby. In entertainment, the global music star Nicki Minaj has confirmed that her birth name, Onika, has Igbo roots. The revelation came after fans highlighted the meaning of the name following her recent appearance at the United Nations, where she addressed violence against Christians in Nigeria. Minaj also noted that her arm tattoo carries a spiritual meaning, deepening conversations about her cultural and personal identity.
International rapper Nicki Minaj has confirmed that her given name Onyeka is derived from the Igbo name Onyekachi, a name commonly used in parts of Nigeria. The confirmation followed a wave of social media discussions praising her recent appearance at the United Nations and drawing attention to the deeper meaning of her first name. Fans highlighted the cultural and spiritual significance associated with it, sparking renewed interest in the artist's heritage. Minaj also shared that a tattoo on her arm carries a spiritual message, adding an extra layer to the conversation about her identity. The revelation has generated widespread engagement among fans across Africa and the global entertainment community.
G20 leaders have adopted a joint declaration at the Johannesburg summit, even as the United States declined to participate. The outcome is seen as a major diplomatic win for South Africa, whose presidency prioritized global inequality, climate resilience, debt relief, and support for developing economies. Despite the U.S. boycott, member nations endorsed a wide-ranging document reflecting Africa's concerns and calling for stronger international cooperation.
World leaders at the G20 summit in Johannesburg has reached a joint declaration marking a significant achievement for South Africa's presidency despite the absence of the United States. The agreement centers on expanded global support for vulnerable nations, particularly those facing climate pressures, natural disasters, and financing instability. It calls for stronger, affordable disaster preparedness financing, greater action on debt sustainability for low-income economies, and increased investment in critical minerals to drive inclusive development. The declaration also enforces commitment to just energy transitions and diversified mineral value chains, highlighting priorities long championed by developing countries. The U.S. boycott, driven by ongoing political tensions, left South Africa navigating the summit without a formal American delegation. Even so, the leaders moved forward with a final document signing a united stand on global cooperation and shared responsibility. Argentina did not endorse the declaration, but affirmed its continued participation in the G20 framework. As South Africa prepares to hand over the presidency, the government maintains the transition will follow full diplomatic protocol ahead of the next summit, set to be hosted by the United States in 2026.
On the international front, the United States and Ukraine report major progress on an updated peace plan after productive negotiations in Geneva. Officials say several key points have been refined, though more work is needed before presenting a final proposal to Russia. European leaders acknowledge the positive steps, but highlight outstanding issues that must be addressed. The United States and Ukraine say significant progress has been made on an updated peace framework following several days of negotiations in Geneva. Both sides described the talks as productive, with major gaps narrowed in the US-backed 28-point plan aimed at ending the conflict with Russia. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the teams have refined several outstanding items, although further consultations are required before the proposal can be submitted to Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky notes that his country has kept crucial issues on the table, including the release of prisoners of war. Reactions across Europe remain cautious but optimistic. Leaders from Finland, Germany, the United Kingdom, and the European Council acknowledge progress while stressing that key decisions affecting the European Union and NATO will be handled separately. Some European allies have also circulated an alternative peace outline, though its details have not been verified. The draft plan, which has been widely leaked, includes several controversial provisions. These involve Ukraine withdrawing troops from parts of the Donetsk region, international recognition of Russian control of occupied territories, including Crimea, and freezing current front lines in Kherson and Zaporizhia. It would also limit Ukraine's military size and rule out NATO membership, replacing it with unspecified security guarantees. The proposal also suggests a pathway for Russia's reintegration into the global economy through the lifting of sanctions and potential re-entry into the G7. Despite disagreements, Washington and Kyiv say they are committed to continuous intensive work in the coming days, expressing optimism that a structured agreement can be reached soon. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a last look at some of our headlines. Africa pushes climate education after COP30. Africa CDC launches health security plan. South Africa secures G20 declaration. US-Ukraine peace plan talks advance. Thank you for sticking with us on the Midweek News on AAU TV. Get interactive with us on all our dedicated news hubs on Facebook and YouTube via Association of African Universities. Thank you for staying with us again. My name is Philemon Edwards.